My name is Andy Ward, and it is my pleasure to host this, the official online book launch of Personalities Remixed. We are heaving inside this celebration, and we are continuing to invite or allow more of us to join. So, to recap, my name is Andy Ward. I am an e-colours practitioner. My e-colours are red over yellow. I'm based in Alicante in Spain, originally from Birmingham in the UK, and it is my complete honour to have been asked to host this session. So before we get started, I'm going to ask if you can answer a quick poll to find out everyone's top colours on the call. You should see a poll coming up on your screen now. While you're doing that, I am just going to scan across and make sure everything is in order. If anybody has any issues, then please do let me know inside the chat room, which I'm sure is going to be buzzing from start to finish. So let me just take a look at this. How do I do this myself?
A very even spread, Andy, of people.
It's an even spread. I'm just trying to work out where I was able to add my information there. I'm not sure that I was. Thanks. Leading an even spread at the moment, blues, top color blues, 29% I'm seeing at the moment. Top color reds, 26%. Yellows, 29%. Neck and neck with the blue and the green. It's changing.
Like a race.
It is. It's changing continuously. So I was about to invite and welcome some people. Going to remind you guys, please take a look in your Zoom app where you can bring up the chat. You may want it as a pop-out, or you can use it side by side, the main window. And we are asking you to let us know where you are joining from today, and also please share any special words that you may have for the authors. As we all know, two of them being top color yellows, we are fully aware that they do love public displays of recognition. So once again, while you're doing that, allow me to take 15 seconds just to peruse and make sure everything is working fine. So reading through this, let me see. Wow, it's moving at a rate of knots. Come on, yellows, Jane says. Good morning to you. Good afternoon. Come on, the yellows. So Australia, Isha, Dubai, España, deepest, darkest Reading, Scotland, South Africa, Lanuthia, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, sunny Dorset. Good morning to Surrey again, Singapore, Haywards Heath, Canberra, Australia again, more for Singapore and South Africa, Qatar, Benidorm again, Northeast Scotland, Newburgh. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, or Newburgh. Good morning, Karen. Estepona, further down south on the coast. And Emma Priest says, huge congratulations on the book. Such an exciting moment. Thank you, Emma. Scunthorpe, this is truly a global affair. Now, Paul Hutchinson has already drew reference to my shirt. I hope you all have your sunglasses at the ready. It is a celebration, so it needed a celebratory garment to show, right? Let's take one final look at the poll at this moment. It would appear that everyone is aware of their e-colours, and I don't think it could be any closer, could it? 26, 24, 26, 24. I love that. Love it indeed. And I'm going to do my best to take a look and see all of you guys. You're wonderful. Your wonderful faces with me. So not only is this the book launch for Personalities Remixed, but it is a celebration. We are here to heap praise at the feet of the authors, celebrating their achievements, and we're also going to give them and yourselves a chance to share snippets of the book, a real community moment. We've got over 70 contributors, and many of you are here joining the celebrations today. Without further ado, I would like to invite the authors onto the stream in true style. Mark Wilkinson couldn't keep his mouth shut until I introduced him. We would expect nothing less. So let me please welcome along, meeting the authors, the tail of the tape, as it were. I should do this in my boxing compare voice. In the yellow corner, with their colours at yellow over red, we introduce Lewis Senior and Mark Wilkinson. And we are also expecting Mr. Paul Grant with us with a hefty red over green. If Paul, I see Paul is with us. Yes, bringing up the rear. Good morning. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Andy. Thanks for hosting this, mate. We really do appreciate it. And it's wonderful to see this global affair and so many people here. So yeah, fantastic.
It's my honor to be here, as I said from the very beginning. Lewis, good morning to you, my friend.
Yeah, good morning and wonderful to see everybody on the call. Thank you for everybody making the effort and really looking forward to hearing, for them that have already started to read the book and for them that are going to, we're really looking forward to the comments coming forward.
Beautiful. We do have a program, sort of like a program that we're going to follow for this celebration. Paul, I want to say good morning to you. How are you?
Morning, Andy. I'm great. I love the show, by the way.
Fantastic. Good to have you here. So what I was saying, there is a script per se that we're going to be following. But Mark, am I correct in asking you that if anybody does want to interject, put their hand up, are we accepting that, or are we waiting for me to come to them?
Of course, if someone would like to input, please use the chat box. But also, if you want to put your hand up, it's great to have so many people here, and the truly global feel for what's going on here is something that I think is to be celebrated. So yeah, absolutely. But yeah, wonderful, and I'm looking forward to talking to a few people on this call as well. So.
Great. Well, with so many of you here, me doing my very best to read the chat box and look at any interaction. If you just put a Zoom hand up, then we will get to you as soon as possible. So I have a couple of questions for the authors. We will go to Mr. Paul Grant first. And Paul, given your penchant for succinct answers, can I entice possibly a detailed explanation of you as to why now is the perfect timing for Personalities Remixed?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question, Andy. We're living in an era of unprecedented complexity, fast change, constant communication, and growing diversity in how people think, feel, and interact. And at the same time, there's a global hunger for a greater self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and more effective leadership, not just in business, but in communities, families, and also education. So the Equilibria framework has always provided a practical, powerful way to understand ourselves and others through the e-colors and personal intervention. But the world has moved forward, and so must the tools we use to navigate it, and that's the e-colors.
Sorry, 1 second. I'm just all sorted. Carry on, Paul.
So, Personalities Remixed, it's more than just a book. It's a way forward. It integrates lessons we've learned over 2 decades, working with people across different industries and cultures. And it includes stories, tools, and the way to address today's challenges in a practical way. So why now? Because the demand for real human connection, clarity of purpose, and collaboration without burnout has never been greater. And because people aren't looking for theory, they're looking for tools that they can use immediately. And that's exactly what Personalities Remixed offers. It's not just a book, it's a guide for anyone who wants to understand themselves, others, and communicate with intentionality.
That's fantastic. What a wonderful answer. Thank you so much for that. Mr. Wilkinson, Mark, I definitely won't need to coax any words from yourself. Now, before I ask you this question, is it okay for me to suggest that people change their view to speaker only, maybe? Because there are so many, for myself, I'm going to change my view to speaker because it allows me to focus more on who I'm actually speaking to at any given moment. Would you say that's
Yeah, absolutely.
A good call.
People are welcome to change their view at the top right-hand corner of Zoom to whatever they would prefer, for sure.
Great. Okay, so and also another question. I do recall you stating that we were going to be broadcasting live on YouTube. Is that still the case?
Yes, there was a little slight technical hitch to start with, so I have recorded the meeting so I can upload it. But yes, it did go on second attempt. My IT skills worked, and we went live to YouTube, so we are there right now.
Excellent. So we send greetings to everyone with us live, and of course, people coming back and checking out the recording. Mr. Mark Wilkinson, tell me, what will readers gain from this book?
Wow. I would go as far as to say that it's the Equilibria and E-Colors Bible, if you like. I mean, we've put everything into this book. It's 9 months of writing between Paul, Lewis, and myself, of collating all this information, populating it with stories, filling it full of history, going right back throughout the whole journey of personality diversity. They'll understand about our ethics, they'll understand about our mission, and what we're looking to achieve with personality diversity, our modern view of it, the way we use styles, not typing or profiling anybody. They'll definitely see themselves in this book. They'll find themselves in this book, and they'll find that it's okay to be them. In fact, better than that, it's great to be them, but also understanding others as well. Seeing themselves, seeing others, getting a deep knowledge and understanding of everything to do with personality diversity and e-colors is where people are going to really benefit from going through this book, front to back, and understanding our use of personality diversity, which is different to anybody else. And I think it's important to share that. And the chapter on education in itself, e-colors in education, is phenomenal. So yeah, I'm so looking forward to people actually having the time and delving into this, and then being able to let us know what they think of it.
Wonderful. And it isn't a small book, is it?
It's a big book. it's a very thick book, but do you know what? It's wonderful. I mean, I was at a seminar in Aberdeen yesterday, and so it's a very thick book. And one bloke went, "Big print though," and I went, "Yeah, okay." But the point is, it's very readable. It's very readable, and people, I think Lou already put in the chat box there that we're going to need to write another one because she's already halfway through it. I mean, it's an easy read, a good read, and it attracts all people because you're going to find yourself in there. It's written by different people with different e-colors. Emma has some great input in there as well, so we've got all e-colors covered in there, as well as David and Laura input in as well. So it's a great read, I have to say that, and I had to say it because I enjoyed writing it, so therefore I enjoy reading it as well.
I hear that. Now, I'll add to that, it must be, as they say, a real page turner, right? And actually, in my haste, I did omit to mention at the very beginning that as we are celebrating the launch, we can officially state now that we are already classified as a bestseller in multiple locations worldwide. So a round of applause to everybody.
Celebrate.
Celebrate.
Absolutely. And I would like to take a moment to express my gratitude for everyone supporting that. I think that we've written this from our experiences, but it's down to you guys to take that out further. And my gratitude is to each of you for supporting this.
Beautiful. You have to love that. Thank you. Moving on to Mr. Lewis Senior. Lewis, the significance of the 70 plus contributors from all around the world. Please give me some information on that.
Well, I think that's first of all, I just want to go back and again reaffirm the gratitude that Mark's talking about, because often as we've been going through writing the book and the editing, I didn't always feel like a labor of love when we got to the editing, but we got there in the end. But I think one of the beauties of this is there's so many people from so many walks of life who've contributed to the book. And that's what makes it very, very special. Our vision in Equilibria has always been realizing potential, which is why, at the top of the book, we're talking about surrounded by potential. There was another book once written called Surrounded by Idiots, but we're definitely going with surrounded by potential. And when you look at the people on this call and the people we'll see this afternoon and those that get to hear it, that is the reality. Everybody has potential. And we believe that, Personalities Remixed gives people an opportunity to see how other people are realizing their potential. So there's lots of contributors who are on this call. There'll be a lot of people this afternoon who are contributors as well. And I was actually going through the book last night and realized there's probably about another 300 or 400 who we could have asked to contribute, but that'll have to be in the next version.
I love it. So number three in the remixed series, I would like to give my own introduction into e-colors, if I may, being in such esteemed company. I guess in my own words, I could say that e-colors was a gateway into a much deeper understanding of myself. It really enabled me to stop and look at myself as someone with very strong red tendencies. It gave me an opportunity to understand how sometimes my own good intentions were always not particularly met with the same enthusiasm as I had originally anticipated. My short, sharp communication style wasn't for everybody. And that alone has given me a whole new dimension and an outlook on the way that I conduct myself. And in the past, I might have thought that people were being consciously difficult or lazy when communicating with me. I now do have the ability to pause and assess their possible personality tendencies and act accordingly. I'm sure many people on this call will have heard my personal testimony many times. This has had a huge impact, not only on myself, but also for my family and those close to me. And when you receive your copy of the book, everybody on this call, you will see how I am proudly adorned with my own play and pause button tattooed on my hand with the phrase, live with intention, because it truly has changed my life. And Lewis, you always say that you don't make any claims to change people's lives. However, you can state that it has changed many people's lives, right?
I believe so. But again, I think everybody has to make that choice for themselves. And, you were definitely the very first person to get the pause and play tattoo. So that'll be a challenge to everybody else on this call.
Lewis, sorry, Andy, Lewis, do you remember we were sitting together, we were having lunch, and the
Yeah.
picture turned up on my phone, and I was like,
Yeah.
have a look at this.
Wow, we've spoke about being interested and being committed, and a conversation that I've had many times, a conversation for another time as well. But I can never thank Mark and e-colors enough for what they've done for me. So let me come back to Lewis. After sharing all of those words myself, it is a pleasure for me to be able to talk to you and have direct access to you. We talk about changing people's lives. Do you have some instances, some circumstances where e-colors and personal intervention has changed other people's lives?
It's I still believe that one of the privileges of everything we've been doing over the last 20 years, and very much is reflected in a lot of the book. There are multiple people I could name, but I'll just give you a couple of examples to kind of give you a broad perspective. If you haven't already read the book, if you look at the forewords actually in the book, and I refer to the very first one, is actually written by the vice chairman of Chevron, Mark Nelson. He is one of the most predominantly red-green individuals I've ever met in my life. And he will tell you that when he found another way to communicate with his son, who was predominantly blue-yellow, it completely changed their relationship. So one thing is, and this is, I think, one thing that's a beautiful thing about the e-colors, if people learn about them in a work setting, often they will take it home. And sometimes the first impact is in the home setting rather than, rather than at work. If I talk about specific examples, one thing I'm very sure of is what we've done in schools, like Mark was saying before. A lot of you probably heard the story before, but we literally finished off working in residential treatment centers in Houston, where there are kids between the ages of 11 and 16 who are recovering alcoholics and drug addicts. And literally 2 weeks after we had given everybody a pause and play, a personal intervention wristband, three young ladies about 15, 16 years old actually told Laura and I they were going to commit suicide last Saturday and decided to press their pause button. And you know, and these kind of things, sometimes obviously not quite as impactful as that, but I haven't met anybody who has not been impacted one way or another by the e-colors. And a lot of those impacts are in the book.
It's I've heard that story so many times, and it's never any less impactful when you share it. Thank you
It,
for that. Right, where do we go? I guess let me ask the authors another question, and maybe people inside the chat can share their own answers to this as well. Mark, I'll start with you. Give me a personality tendency you feel you have had to remix the most in your own journey.
Well,
I know one that I
no,
think you're
no,
going
no,
to
clearly
answer, but I'm
nothing.
not going to say anything.
Clearly nothing, because I'm perfect. No. But I think the key point there is understanding that each of us has all these amazing strengths. So it's good to be us. And we also have these potential limiters that can come up. And sometimes if you're not even consciously aware of them, they can actually irritate others. And then it becomes like, you know, a compounding effect. My optimism, enthusiasm, all my great positives and things I bring to the world is sometimes tempered a little bit by a disorganized nature at times, a lack of focus, certain lacking details where I don't necessarily dive into things deep enough at certain times. That is Emma's smiling and nodding. If anyone can see Emma right now, but Emma's smiling and nodding. My good wife, good lady wife, but also. It's come up in the writing of the book as well, where Paul Grant has said to me that what you just did there wasn't logical, and I'm like, okay, well, it made sense to me at that moment, but I have a very low green, data analytical thinking percentage. It's only 9%. I don't go there naturally, and I'm always doing things well intentioned, but sometimes those things can cause problems to myself and to others. So having the play and pause button and having the wristband. And actually introducing the fact that we have a play and pause button for our strengths and our potential limiters is something that gives you the opportunity to improve. And we're all improving, I hope, every single day. In fact, every healthy human being is committed to growth in some area. And it's very important that we all understand it's an ongoing journey. And if I use the gym analogy, our minds are a gym. We need to go to the mental gym, and repetition being mastery. We keep lifting up the weight. If you lift it up once and put it down, you're not going to have huge biceps. But if you go to the gym consistently and you keep working that bicep, it's going to get bigger. So it's that piece of understanding about ourselves. And I've been studying the e-colors for 15 years now. Fortunate enough to use it in my day-to-day life for the last 5 years, and now co-authoring this book. I mean, it's a wonderful journey. But the repetition is the mastery, and I need to understand more continuously about my focus and being as organized as I possibly can. And also, just to round that off, I'm perfectly comfortable asking for help from people who are more green than I.
That's a the is there such a thing as the perfect answer? I think you may have just given it. My biggest takeaway from that is the fact that we are all beautifully unique. I use that a hell of a lot when I'm talking to people, because we're not here to browbeat people and pick out their faults. We are just making them aware of how they could possibly be even better. So thank you, Mark. Let me direct that question again now to Mr. Paul Grant. One of your own personality tendencies you feel you've had to work on and remix the most in your journey?
Yeah, thanks, Andy. I think one clear example for myself has been how I handle emails. As someone with red-green e-colors, I'm naturally task focused and action orientated. And in the past, I tended to fire off quick, to the point responses just to keep things moving. And my mindset was always get it done, keep it efficient. But what I didn't realize was how that can come across to others, especially those with more relationship focused e-colors, such as the yellows and blues. So my directness would be misinterpreted as abrupt or dismissive, even though that was never the intent. So, through the e-colors and learning to use personal intervention, I've become more intentional. I now pause before replying, consider the other person's styles and e-colors, and tailor my tone to communicate more effectively, not just efficiently. So I might add a line of appreciation, can often soften the message if I sense it could land too hard. So just that small shift, pausing and reflecting before I hit send, has made a huge difference in building stronger relationships and getting better results, and not just fast ones.
I love that. And would you say now that this is second nature for you automatically every time, or do you ever find yourself falling into old habits, if that's the right question?
No, I think it's something you've got to continually manage. And your e-colors are your natural reactions, and you're always going to have natural reactions. Tools such as personal intervention just allows you to manage those.
I love that. I love that. I would talk about some of my initial email communications with Emma Wilkinson, but we shan't. Maybe Mark will pick that up a little bit later on, because everything that you said, I relate to there, thinking that I was just getting to the point and cutting out the nonsense and just being completely misunderstood at times. And finally, Lewis, for yourself, a personality tendency you feel you've had to remix the most in your own journey?
My daughter and I were making a podcast the other day, and she said, you got to a point of being a workaholic. I said, no, I'm a helpaholic. And I have to still manage that once in a while. But Andy, I'd really like to hear from some of the people on the call. I think it's let's give the floor to them, if you don't mind.
Okay, no problem. So going into the chat box, Mark, you've been paying attention to that while I've been talking to the three of you. Is there anything that jumps out at you from the comments? Because I'll be reading them firsthand here.
Yeah, there's some wonderful comments in there, actually. Duncan, I would like to ask you, Duncan, actually, if you're happy to unmute. You put something in there. In fact, you've all put something in there. While Duncan is unmuting, I just want to say that how grateful I am to every single one of you, the people that have contributed, attended, enjoyed this, used it. I wish I could come to you all and hear from every single one of you, but we are going to be limited slightly. But I want to thank you all for that. Duncan, do you just want to mention what you said there?
Oh yeah, the ability to identify what the group needs, and this was, I think it was in one of the e-colors sessions, and you put all the yellows together to complete a task, and about 30 seconds in, everyone's just talking. I thought, well, this ain't going to get done. We need product here. So I had to kind of press pause and play in other areas to say, well, we need to guide this group to actually coming up with some answers and getting them down on paper so we can come back and present to the group. So quite out of character for me to not talk and go off on tangents and tell personal stories, but it was like, well, what does this group need and how do we keep them on track? So yeah, I'm not sure I would have been aware of that without e-colors. So thank you for that.
Great. And just to add to that, when you do the breakout sessions and many of you, are practitioners and you do this as well. And when you do the breakout rooms and you put people into the 4 quadrants, it's just a wonderful experience to bring them all back together. And one of the first things I say to people is, when you're in the quadrants, is when they come back, how did it feel to be with your people? And they love it. They're like, oh yeah, I was with all the people just like me. And I'm like, okay, now let's listen to everyone else, all the other groups. And now the key bit is to be able to bring that together and you all work together, which is a really great learning. So back to you, Andy.
Yes, thank you. I was thinking as I was listening there, I would have loved to have been able to hold up my copy, but it was only released, available for me to order yesterday. I will be receiving it at the weekend. I have a friend from the UK who's bringing it over for me. And one thing that you and I spoke about recently is my own understanding of e-colors has enabled me to eradicate some words from my vocabulary, frustration being one of them, because I don't get frustrated when I'm dealing with people now, and I don't get frustrated if I'm not able to get my point across. I understand I have to address maybe my delivery. So I just wanted to say frustration doesn't come into my world anymore. I am really looking forward to getting it on Saturday. Me asking you to read through some of the chat, I guess you may also have an idea of some of the contributors in the book who you'd like to help us focus on right now. So, any of the amazing people who've contributed to the book that we could hear from now?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd like to just, like I said, I wish I could go to everybody and hear everybody's story. But certainly, I'd like to go to Lloyd, Lloyd Cornwall down in South Africa. Lloyd, are you able to unmute? Are you there?
Thank you, Emma, by the way, for posting that link for Amazon Spain into the chat box. Yeah, maybe that was me missing it. My yellow is kicking in there and I missed that detail. But it's purchased and it's on the way.
Brilliant. Thank you, Andy. Lloyd, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good. Really good. I'm
Excellent.
glad to see you're all well. Lovely to see everybody.
Likewise, mate. And you know, I think one of the reasons I wanted to hear from you is you put a really great testimonial quote in there about how you've learned to manage conflict, and that actually came from a conversation. And you shared another story in the book actually about something that actually happened at the Delicious Festival that you run in South Africa. You know, I won't spoil it for anyone or anything like that, but I do want to hear sort of straight from you about how you learned to manage a little bit of your red tendencies and that hour that we spent with one of your colleagues.
It's interesting what e-Colors has done.
Oh, it was going to be so interesting.
I thought that was me then. I panicked. I really panicked.
Oh, I'll tell you what.
Do we have anybody else while
Yeah,
we're waiting for Lloyd's connection?
We do. Lloyd, are you back?
I'm here. I didn't know
what happened. Your internet went for a second. You said it's interesting what e-Colors has done and then stopped.
Oh, really? Oh, God, I'm sorry about that.
Go again. Go again.
You know, I've made no secret about the fact that I'm a recovering alcoholic and I'm 15 years clean and sober. But it's amazing, you know, I've learned so much about interpersonal skills in AA and doing recovery work, but I've never applied that to my business environment. You know, I was still operating until e-Colors came along and I got a better understanding. I was still operating in a silo in business, whereas in my personal life, I had this wonderful understanding of other people and that everyone's different, walk in their shoes, understand they got different skill sets, understand when they behave like you do, it upsets you. I had that wonderful sort of 360-degree vision in recovery. But e-Colors taught me that also applies to life as well. So it's interesting for me as a person in recovery, but e-Colors almost bridged the gap between a life in recovery in my recovery world and then my life in business. And it really helped sort of translate everything I'd learned in AA over into business. And I've become a better business person for it because, you know, sometimes I'm in a meeting and the person's just going off on a tangent and I shut down. And that's only because he's doing what I would do. So it annoys me and I shut down. But through the e-Colors, I've learned to accept that person for who they are, love them for the good bits of who they are. And then when someone and the situation in our business was, I have a member of my team that works for me and her job is to identify the problems with my ideas. The problem is we hired her to identify the problems with our ideas, but when she identified the problems with our ideas, it made me absolutely livid. So, you know, and it really pissed me off. I mean, I'd sit there and say, look, we're going to do this and we're going to do this. And then she'd say, yeah, but that and that won't work. And we've got to do this. And she's only doing what she was employed to do. And she's bloody brilliant. But I couldn't manage that relationship. And we spent 1 hour with Mark and we discussed it. And now I appreciate her because she does do the things that I can't do. I can't see problems. I can only see the big picture. I can see opportunity. I can see the fireworks and the stage and I can see everything. But I can't see the fact that we're breaking 900 laws to fly a trapeze with fire breathers over a 3,000 strong crowd. I can't see that shit. So what e-Colors has done for me, the biggest thing it's done for me, it's helped me bridge my life in recovery in the AA room, where I'm a very calm, understanding, listening person. It's helped me become that person in my business as well. And it's amazing that's been, and I wrote this down while you were all talking. That's been the biggest thing for me, because for some reason I couldn't apply my recovery world into my business world. It took a slightly different a slightly different framework to translate that. The IP was there, the IP's in me, but I've never made that connection that I can be I'm a great recovery coach and I'm a great AA guy, but I never joined the dots and said, okay, I could be a better businessman if I applied some of these principles in my business.
Brilliant.
And since, you know, beginning that journey, they've made me chairman. I'm not operational anymore. They come to me with the bigger stuff because they really trust my opinion on seeing the whole picture. And that has been born out of looking at the e-colors and translating some of those learnings into my business life. So it's been very powerful for me.
Amazing. Before you continue, Mark, can I just ask Lloyd to confirm for everyone his top colors, please?
Yes.
It's yellow, red, same as Mark.
As if we needed to.
I would add to that as well. That it's quite interesting that, you know, different clashes. We've all heard of personality clashes, but different clashes can happen. But Lloyd is yellow over red, very similar to myself, and you can see it is written all over us. And you also look at his colleague was green over red. So they had the red in common, wanting to get things done. But the green and the yellow were clashing, and, you know, the detail and the big picture were kind of clashing there until we had that session together. And then after that, harmony was restored. And yes, there's a piece in the book, a whole story in the book about creative sparks flying at the Delicious Festival. Please read that story. You're going to absolutely love it. But the same would happen potentially could happen in mine and Emma's relationship, as a top yellow and Emma a top green. You know, we both have similar red and we want to get things done. And again, you know, it's about that understanding, as Lloyd very beautifully put. So thank you, Lloyd. I'm going to move on, but thank you so much, mate. Brilliant story. Brilliant
Excellent.
story.
Well, I'm glad you said we were going to move on, Mark, because I've been waiting for so long to say. In the interest of time, I'm conscious that we are going to make this as close to 60 minutes as possible. Do you have anyone else that you'd like to bring on and talk to?
I have a couple of other people that I would just like to hear a couple of minutes from. Louis, are you there?
Hi, Mark. Hi, everyone.
Hello, Lou. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm okay. You'll have to keep me short as well because I could go on forever. So just cut me short.
No, you're absolutely fine. But look, in a nutshell, we met in a coffee shop in Dorset when Frankie the Frenchie started flirting with you and your partner, and we started talking. We spoke about the e-colors. Within 3 days, you were joining a practitioner session, and I just want to hear a little bit about what you've been doing, because you're in the police force and you've been rolling this out, right?
Yep. So I fell in love with it instantly. It kind of hammered home to me, I suppose, why I am like I am. And I look back over the years and go, that's why I do what I do. So yeah, I brought it back into the policing organisation. And I've since done it, I want to say about 20 different teams. And it's just been eye-opening, I think, mainly for myself, but for all the teams. I genuinely think it could save lives. And I've done it. And there's a real mix, actually. There's no one colour that is more predominant. But for those that just want to jump in and help, in terms of, you know, I don't know, a police officer goes to a railway station where somebody's on line or you know, that kind of thing. Those red and yellows just want to jump in and help. And I've done this with them, and I've done sort of team exercises where I've said, look, you know, there is a certain process that police officers should follow. However, your natural instincts want to kick in, and I get the answers from them. And it is the red and yellow say, I just want to jump in there and help, you know, because that is going to override them. So once they're aware of that, they can press that pause button. And it is who they're crewed with as well, because you could have two top colour reds crewed together. You could have a top colour red and a top colour green, and they're going to deal with it very, very differently. And they do, because when I do that train track exercise, top colour greens will say, and I'm sure Emma would back me up on this, what they want to know every last detail before they go onto that line. What time's the next train? How do they turn it off? What other things can they know? Whereas reds don't even think about that. They're just straight onto it. And that's the police officer side, but I do it with police staff as well. And, you know, I've had, so I did it with a finance team. Funnily enough, they were predominantly top colour greens. They need the detail. They would absolutely hate me working with them. Not that I'd ever want to do that, because it involves spreadsheet and detail. Not interested. And yeah, and just absolutely revolutionary. And I do the building exercise as well. So I put them into top colours. They do their different buildings, and I can send you photos, but every single time it's the same. You know, the top colour reds, they're finished first, they whip up some kind of building. If there's more than one top colour red in the group, they start bickering and will often do their own thing. The yellows are just hilarious. They are laughing, drinking coffee, everything else before they start doing the building. And it's so creative. I've had, children, I've had animals, they construct balconies, all the rest of it. Blues are so empathetic with each other. They all talk, get each other's ideas, and usually the building's fairly pretty, but the green building is always the prettiest. Looks like Sydney Opera House. They're really quiet, and again, the detail, and they always have a plan. And then the feedback afterwards, because they feed back to each other about why it's the best building and why they've done what they've done. Where the yellows don't stop talking. Reds just bosh, bosh, bosh. Reds and yellows don't have a plan. Greens and blues, particularly the greens, have a meticulous plan, and it's the same whichever group I do it with. And it just,
Isn't it beautiful to observe, Lou?
it is. It's absolutely amazing.
I take offence at the Reds not having a plan.
Well, yellows don't either. They just start building. Who needs a plan, Andy?
But what's interesting there, Lou, is that Andy, although he's red yellow, has a very high green percentage. So Andy would naturally think about a plan.
Right,
so this is where second colours come into a real depth for everybody as well.
Yeah.
But Lou, brilliant, and please keep up the great work. And you're halfway through the book. Are you enjoying it?
Love it. And I will just say as well, I've done it with a child who'd been homeschooled. She was not getting on at school very well. So I went and did a one-to-one with her. And again, for her, it was revolutionary because she was like, oh, this is why I do what I do. And Dad does this. And yeah, it's just, so many, and I could go on forever.
Well, absolutely. Thank you, Lou, and I appreciate that. We all feel like that as well. I had one coaching client who was a top colour red, his wife was a top colour green, and his two children, one was a top colour blue, one was a top colour yellow, and there was absolute conflict in that house. And I brought in the e-colours and showed them, and I had a session with them. And literally, harmony was restored, and it's a beautiful thing. So yeah, fantastic, Lou. And like Lewis said earlier, it's a tool for life. So I will just move on just to Kerry. Kerry, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, everybody. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Kerry. Listen, thanks so much for being online here as well. You've contributed some breath work to the book and your own personal journey. You also made a very beautiful video the last couple of days about Life Remixed and Money Remixed being books that have really changed your perception and your life and everything, which I'm hugely grateful for. But certainly, your experience with the e-colours so far.
Yeah, so I came across the e-colours through meeting Mark a year ago now, Mark, June 24. And look, I'm in the wellbeing space. Mark just referenced the breathwork that I provide in the book because I'm a breathwork instructor and a meditation teacher. And really interesting observation for me when Mark introduced me to the e-colours initially was, this is the missing link in respect to the aspect that we don't necessarily understand when we focus on well-being around what triggers people and what works to help people, right? And for me, it was like, I absolutely have to get involved in this because I think it's going to be seriously impactful. And then for myself as an individual, I mean, literally, I know it sounds a little bit cliche, but it was absolutely like looking in a mirror when I basically, I'm sorry, I'm yellow over blue, by the way. They're my two dominant colours. And it literally was, when I saw my strengths and potential limiters, it was an absolute jaw drop moment. And just brought so much awareness to me through that exercise of really understanding not just those aspects of how I tick that can hold me back and that I should also leverage more, but also how to actually do that. So practical. And yeah, it's had a huge impact in my life, ongoing. And my daughter, I guess just a quick ditty because I'm yellow too, so I could talk forever as well. My daughter, top colour yellow over red. I'm yellow over blue. On a communication side of things, that can be quite difficult, and it's really helped us communicate better in the house. She's an 18-year-old teenager, and constantly pausing, thinking about how I'm talking to her. She's now doing that with me. And I can tell you it's had a profound impact on the happiness in the house, right?
Thank you, Kerry. Thank you so
yeah,
much,
really
Kerry.
great.
That's wonderful. And actually, a woman at a seminar yesterday actually said to me when I was talking about this, she said, "Oh, I wish you had one of these, a version of this for teenagers." I went, "Aha." I said, "Aha, we do." And have a look at this. So anyway, brilliant, Kerry. Thank you so much. Andy, back to you. And thank you to everyone who contributed there.
Wonderful testimonies from everybody there. Thank you. We are doing great for time. We're just a few moments away from ending, but before we do end, I want to come back to each of the authors because I think it is very important to hear, as well as what we've already covered. Is there one particular story or a chapter that you would hope people take to heart when reading Personalities Remixed? I'll go to Paul first.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. I think for me, it's chapter 13, e-colors for education. That really captures the heart of why this work matters so much. When we introduce e-colors and personal interventions into schools, we're not just helping students learn better, we're helping them understand themselves and each other in ways that many adults are still learning to do. What stands out to me is how powerful that is. When a child learns, their unique blends of strengths and potential limiters suddenly becomes so obvious for them. When teachers and students and even parents begin to speak their common language of self-awareness and communication, it changes the whole dynamics. So that the classroom becomes more empathetic, discipline becomes more about growth than punishment, and the children start to believe in their own potential. The effects on reducing bullying and increasing grades are just amazing. If there's only one thing I hope readers walk away with, is remembering that it's a tool that can shape lives from a very young age. And if we can embed this awareness in the next generation, we're not just improving education, we're reshaping their future.
I love that. That's definitely something for a t-shirt there, reshaping the future. Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much. Lewis, is that, so that was just to confirm, Paul, chapter 13, you said, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Lewis, yourself, one story or particular chapter you hope that people take to heart?
Well, I can only agree with Paul, but I want to just wind it back. I'm actually looking at Ian Collins on this call and thinking about, and I realize we're all from different perspectives. We started Equilibria to try and keep people in one piece. There were way too many accidents, incidents, and fatalities in the oil and gas industry in which we grew up. And so that was definitely something that we wanted to make sure lands heavily in this book, is the fact that a lot of people may well still be alive today had they understood how their personality impacts the way that they work and operate. And so there's a lot about that in the book. But going back to what Paul is saying, the reality is that, and in fact, chapter 13 is the longest chapter in the book. It is about education, because when you can introduce e-colors to a 7-year-old and that becomes their coping tool for life, then you're onto something very, very special. And at 7 or 8 years old, typically there's no resistance. They don't sit there going, I know better. They just take it as part of what they do and they learn from it and they grow, just like Paul is saying. So I want to just say something while I get an opportunity. In between this session and this afternoon, I am going to post a video I made the other day, which is very much aimed at philanthropists, leaders, parents, anybody who can help us spread the e-colors into education. With all the goodwill in the world, there's not enough people on this call who can do it on their own. We need some serious help. And in the situation the world is in today, I think there's a larger need for at least the next few generations to do a heck of a lot better than we're doing today. So any help we can get to spread that message would be much appreciated.
Hear, hear. Thank you. Thank you for those words. Okay, so Mark, before I come to yourself, I just want to invite people, if you had changed to your speaker view, if you want to possibly change to the gallery, because what I'm going to ask to do now is anybody that already has a copy of the book, if you could hold it up to the screen, because we're going to take a screenshot of this. I'm aware there will be one or two of you that have done that. And while you're holding that up to the screen, let me remind everybody, Personalities Remixed is available to purchase now. We have already said that today we are celebrating international or in multiple regions bestseller, but please do continue to support and buy your copy this week as soon as possible, because it will help us to gain that international bestseller across all regions. So have we been getting screenshots there, Mark and Emma?
I've got a couple of screenshots. Let's go now. 1, 2, 3. There we go, everyone. Bang, done. Thank you. That's fantastic.
Beautiful. Also, for anyone that has read it, as soon as you finished it and before you go back for your second read, please remember, if you've enjoyed it, that's a ridiculous thing to say, when you've enjoyed it, please do leave a shining Amazon review, because I'm fairly certain it will deserve nothing less. And if a book changes how you see the world, then do pass it on and share news of it, because it might enable someone else to see that shift. Also, I made a comment on my socials recently that we're all so very happy and fast to share Netflix recommendations or share a post of a recipe that we'll see online. And I'm sure I'm preaching to the converted here, but we all need to, we all would benefit from normalizing sharing such life-changing content. Okay, so Mark, I think it's only fair that as the person that introduced me to e-colors and along with Paul and Lewis has had such a profound impact on my own life, if you don't mind, I'm going to step back and hand over to you to end and say a few words to your people and maybe share some of the words in the chat as well.
Thank you, Andy. So there's a couple of things I just want to do there. So around the question of one story or indeed one chapter of the book, you know, Lewis and Paul both referenced the education chapter, and I would absolutely, you know, support that and second that. It's a wonderful piece of work to hear so many pieces of information from everybody. On a personal note, the chapter 3, when I met Lewis Senior for the first time in Heathrow Airport, I feel that you know gives a real viewpoint of when you meet somebody and you know that something good is going to come out of that. So that was a personal thing, and Lewis's reflections on that with me. I'd also, if Martin Brogan in Dubai could unmute for a second as well, Martin, if you're there, I would like to reference to Martin in a moment as well. I would say the other thing around the chapters, there's a chapter for green, red, yellow, and blue, and you can read those chapters about yourself and then start to see this in other people. So each of those chapters specifically on each personality style is really, really powerful. And the other one for me, psychological safety. There's a whole piece on pause and play, but there's a whole piece on psychological safety. And if we're safer in our lives, we're more creative, and therefore we're more successful. So ultimately, if the e-colors gives us that, and it does, that psychological safety, but what each quadrant needs for that psychological safety, that's a very, very powerful chapter as well. So there's loads in there. I'm really looking forward to all of your feedback. Martin, are you there?
Hi, Mark. How you doing?
Hey, Martin. How are you? Great to see you, mate. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, do you know, I didn't think I was going to get the opportunity. I was actually just writing in, I'll tell you what I've wrote in the chat box. Since Mark and Emma came to Dubai and introduced myself and the safety team, we've seen some great results across our safety performance, and we've gone from safety compliance, which is important, to safety ownership. I think we had the conversation where I had to look at safety differently. And when you came in, you just kind of blew my mind on the e-colors thing, and it was what I needed. It was funny because that just connection when you came in, I went, that's the golden bullet I needed to make the change. We've done the session. I think again it's let me see the strengths of the team, and I've been able to utilise that. But we've seen massive results, Mark. To be honest, we set a target this year: 10% reduction in accidents, 10% reduction in man days lost, or ASR, AFR. 5 months into it, and I've actually got the figures here, and I'm quite happy to share. We're 38% down in accidents.
Wow.
We are 51% down in man days lost. Our AFR is 52%, ASR 57%, but we've got a 25%. So we went from around about 18 million man hours to 23 million man hours work. Okay, it's on about 27% increase, but using e-cars and approaching safety differently is making a massive impact for us. But we're talking different as well, and that's what I was talking about. That from the decision making, and rather than just being following the straight SOPs and stuff, it's understanding why are people making these mistakes, and getting a wee bit more detailed. And we've actually changed our investigation process as well, and that certainly helps it. But again, that wouldn't have been possible, Mark, without you. As I say, I think the 10% would have achieved it, but I think that approach, and it was just that what we needed. So, and you know, my philosophy is make tomorrow safer than it is today, and make today safer than it was yesterday.
And when you gave us that testimonial, which is in the book, so you can see Martin's words. Martin works with a company called Dulsco in Dubai. That was his thing. I want to make today safer than yesterday, and that was his quote. And he saw the e-colours as part of that journey, and we're really grateful for that, Martin. And one of your, well, Fenu and Steffi, I think, are both on the call as well. Fenu said something brilliant in the session when we did the feedback. Fenu's e-colours are red over yellow. And it was just a wonderful moment when he said, I used to think it was just grey matter, but now I see the colours. And that was just, I was just like, wow, okay, magic, thank you. So I think that's important. We do see the e-colours in everybody. It's a beautiful piece of work. I want to say as well, thank you all so much for being here today as we come up to the hour. We are back today at 5 p.m. There'll be a lot of our USA cousins and people from around the globe joining us on that call as well. You are very welcome to come back. It will be hosted by Sally Sargent, who was the director of the Houston Super Bowl committee and brought the e-colours into 10,000 volunteers. It's going to be an amazing session, loads of great feedback from people there as well. You're very welcome to come back. I would also like to send my huge gratitude to Andy Ward for hosting this session so beautifully. I wish I could have come to every single person and heard every single word from all of you, but the chat box is there, and the e-colours are there for all of us, and personality diversity is something that's going to keep growing, and this book is going to help. So I just want to say thank you to every single one of you, and I believe we have a little outro slide, and it's time to go, Emma. Is that correct?
It is correct, Mark. Let me just say, bang on the hour. Oh, amazing. Congratulations, everybody. Thank you.
I am a talker, but somehow it manages to all come together.
It's all about the Reds. That's my ego. My ego couldn't stop myself from taking some credit for that.
It was brilliant. Thank you all so much. Thank you for participating. Thank you for inputting. Lovely to see Adrian. I see on them Paula and Paul Davis. I can name you all. Sorry, it's lovely to see you all. And thank you all so much. So hopefully we'll see some of you back at 5 p.m. as well. But until then, lots of love. Keep reading and let us know how you get on.
Thank you.
Everyone.